Welcome to this explosive edition of Entertainment News, where we dive deep into one of the most shocking celebrity showdowns of the year, Elton John getting kicked off Loose Women after a heated argument with Denise Welch. Picture this, the glittering world of British daytime TV, where opinions fly faster than sequins at a West End premiere, suddenly erupts into chaos as the Rocket Man himself clashes swords with the outspoken queen of Loose Women. It all started innocently enough, or so it seemed, on a crisp autumn morning in the ITV studios, where the panel was set to discuss the highs and lows of celebrity civil partnerships, drawing from Elton's own lavish 2005 ceremony with David Furnish that drew A-listers like moths to a flame. Denise Welch, ever the bold storyteller, kicked things off by recounting her own starstruck eavesdropping escapade at that very event, hiding in a bathroom stall to overhear juicy tidbits from Fergie, Victoria Beckham, and Sharon Osbourne, a tale that had the audience in stitches and the panel buzzing with nostalgia. But as the conversation veered into modern-day royal scandals and the pressures of public partnerships, Elton, invited as a surprise guest to promote his latest memoir, couldn't resist chiming in with his trademark wit, defending the sanctity of his union while playfully jabbing at the tabloid frenzy surrounding younger celebs. What began as light-hearted banter quickly escalated when Denise, drawing from her own history of marital ups and downs, including her candid admissions of past infidelities that once painted her as the media's villain, challenged Elton's idealized view, accusing him of glossing over the gritty realities that everyday fans face in their relationships. The studio lights seemed to dim under the weight of the tension, with co-panelists like Kelly Brook and Nadia Sawalha exchanging wide-eyed glances, sensing the storm brewing. Elton, not one to back down from the lyrical battle, fired back with a quip about Loose Women's propensity for turning personal anecdotes into national headlines, referencing Denise's infamous podcast revelations that had tabloids churning out stories for weeks. The audience laughter turned uneasy as Denise's cheeks flushed, her Geordie fire igniting in defense of her platform's authenticity, arguing that vulnerability is the show's superpower, not a punchline. As the debate intensified, production whispers rippled through the wings of producers torn between letting the raw emotion unfold for ratings gold or intervening before things spiraled. Little did they know, this verbal tango was about to hit a crescendo that would echo across social media, leaving fans divided and headlines screaming. But let's rewind a bit to understand the players. Elton John, the piano-pounding legend whose life story could fill a dozen biopics, has always been a beacon for authenticity in the face of adversity, from his AIDS advocacy to his unapologetic queerness in an era of shadows. Denise Welch, the resilient actress turned talk show titan, has weathered her own storms of depression battles, family heartaches, and a career resurgence that proves grit over glamour. Their paths crossing wasn't just serendipity, it was a collision of eras, one a global icon forged in the fires of the 70s rock scene, the other a daytime diva who's made a career out of burying her soul without a filter. As the argument unfolded, it wasn't just about civil partnerships anymore, it became a meta-discussion on fame's double-edged sword, where Elton lamented the loss of privacy in the social media age, citing his own wedding as a rare bubble of joy before the paparazzi pounced, while Denise countered with tales of her sons, including Matty Healy of the 1975. Navigating the relentless scrutiny of modern stardom. The heat rose when Elton, perhaps feeling the sting of generational gaps, suggested that Loose Women's raw discussions sometimes veer into oversharing territory, a comment that landed like a sour note in a symphony. Denise, quick as a whip, retorted that his own tell-all books spill more tea than a dozen episodes combined, sparking a ripple of applause from the crowd who sensed the truth in her barb. Producers, monitoring from the control room, watched heart rates spike on their screens of viewers at home tweeting furiously, some cheering Denise's unfiltered realness, others backing Elton's call for boundaries. It was at this juncture that the argument took a personal turn, with Denise invoking her eavesdropped royal chat as proof that even icons like Elton curate their narratives, leading him to defend his wedding's intimacy with a passion that bordered on defensiveness. The exchange devolved into rapid-fire accusations, Elton claiming the panel sensationalizes pain for clicks, Denise insisting that's rich coming from a man whose every breakup ballad has sold millions. The studio audience, A mix of loyal Loose Women fans and Elton superfans bustin' for the occasion, shifted uncomfortably in their seats, torn between loyalties. Backstage, ITV execs huddled, weighing the viral potential against potential backlash. After all, Elton's a national treasure, but Denise is the heartbeat of the show. As voices rose, the argument spilled over into broader themes. The evolution of celebrity culture, where yesterday's scandals become tomorrow's empowerment anthems, and how women like Denise have paved the way for honest discourse in a male-dominated media landscape. Elton, to his credit, acknowledged her trailblazing role with a nod, but not before dropping a line about how his own vulnerabilities were weaponized in the 80s press, drawing parallels that momentarily softened the edges. Yet the truce was fleeting. Denise pressed on, questioning if his fairy tale partnership overlooks the messy divorces fans endure without his spotlight safety net. The panel's energy crackled like static, with side comments from co-stars adding fuel. Kelly Brook joking about her own Madonna wedding tales, lightening the mood just enough to keep it from imploding. But as the segment clock ticked down, the producers faced an impossible choice, the air thick with unspoken regrets and unyielding principles. This wasn't just TV drama, it was a mirror to society's own fractured conversations on love, fame, and forgiveness. And as we peel back the layers, it's clear this blow-up was inevitably a clash of titans whose shared history of resilience made their friction all the more poignant. Fans later dissected every frame on YouTube, frame-by-frame analyses flooding TikTok, with hashtags like #Elton vs Denise trending worldwide. But to truly grasp the fallout, we must delve into the immediate aftermath, where apologies were whispered but egos loomed large. ITV switchboard lit up like a Christmas tree, complaints and commendations pouring in equal measure, forcing a hasty ad break that felt like an eternity. When the cameras rolled again, the damage was done, the rawness captured forever in the digital ether. Yet in that chaos lay Bucha, the unscripted truth that binds us all, reminding viewers that even legends bleed words in the heat of debate. As the story unfolds further, we'll explore how this moment redefined boundaries on live TV, sparking think pieces from The Guardian to gossip mags, all pondering if vulnerability is currency or curse in the court of public opinion. And through it all, one thing shines clear: in the arena of honest talk, no one's ever truly kicked off for long, they just reload for the next round. But wait, there's more to this saga, layers upon layers of backstory that make the explosion all the more seismic. Let's journey back to that 2005 civil partnership, a spectacle of joy amid Elton's turbulent life, where Denise's bathroom hideout became legend in her retellings, a testament to her knack for turning awkward into anecdotal gold. Fast forward to 2025, and here we are, 2 decades later, with the world wiser but no less judgmental, watching these icons grapple with echoes of their pasts. The argument wasn't born in vacuum, it was fertilized by years of media scrutiny, from Elton's drug-fueled memoirs to Denise's depression memoirs that bared her soul to bestseller lists. Their shared thread, an unyielding commitment to truth-telling, even when it stings. As the dust settles in our retelling, consider the ripple effects: young viewers inspired to voice their own partnership woes, older fans reminiscing about Elton's glory days, and everyone in between questioning the lines between public persona and private pain. This is the power of Loose Women at its peak, and unpolished, unrelenting, unforgettable. And as we transition to the heart of the heat, prepare for the verbal volleys that left jaws on floors and screens shattering with refresh buttons. Diving deeper into the fray, the argument's pivot point arrived when Denise, with her trademark candor, steered the chat toward the hypocrisies of celebrity advice on relationships, using Elton's enduring bond with David as a launchpad while weaving in her own fractured fairy tale with ex-husband Tim Healy, a union that produced musical airs but ended in headlines of betrayal. Elton, seated regally in his signature shades, leaned forward, his voice a velvet thunder as he countered that longevity in love isn't about perfection but persistence, citing his own relapses and redemptions as proof that even diamonds crack under pressure. The panel nodded in sage agreement at first, but Denise's eyes narrowed, her response a scalpel. Easy to say when you've got estates and entourages cushioning the falls, "Sir, some of us fight for scraps in the spotlight's shadow." The words hung heavy, the audience gasping in collective intake, a hush falling like confetti in reverse. Co-panelist Charlene White attempted a bridge, sharing her journalistic lens on balanced reporting, but the momentum was unstoppable, a freight train of feels barreling toward collision. Elton, stung yet smiling through gritted teeth, quipped back with a line borrowed from his lyrics. Sorry seems to be the hardest word, but honesty, that's the real chart topper. Laughter erupted, but it was laced with edge, the kind that signals boundaries breached. Denise, undeterred, escalated by referencing her podcast bombshells of those toilet tales from Elton's wedding that humanize the elite, making God's gossip like gossips. I was there, Elton, ear to the stall, hearing the queens dethroned and whisper, so what makes your truth holier than mine? The directness sliced through the studio's veneer, producers signaling frantically from offstage, their earpieces buzzing with crisis mode. Social media, ever the vulture, began feasting live, tweets exploding with #loose women drama, memes morphing Elton's glasses into shields, Denise's mic into a scepter. Back in the fray, Elton defended his memoir's confessions as catharsis, not conquest, arguing that loose women's format often amplifies the mundane to mythic proportions, turning therapy sessions into tea parties for the masses. Denise fired back, her voice rising like a crescendo in a soap opera showdown. And your ballads, they romanticize the wreckage, selling heartbreak to heartbroken teens who's amplifying what now? The exchange crackled with authenticity, raw as rare steak, drawing viewers deeper into the vortex. Off-camera, crew members froze mid-task, transfixed by the theater unfolding, while the director sweated bullets over timing the commercial salvation. As tempers flared, the debate broadened to feminism's front lines, Denise championing women's right to roar their regrets, Elton nodding to his allyship in the fight for equality, yet clashing on the costs of candor in conservative corners. The audience, a tapestry of demographics from pensioners to parents, leaned in, some cheering Denise's defiance, others murmuring support for Elton's elegance under fire. It was here that the kicked-off moment loomed, not with fists, but with finality, as Elton's retort on oversharing crossed into what Denise perceived as dismissal of her decade-defining vulnerability. You've got Grammys for your grief, I've got Google alerts for many a fair fight? She challenged, tears glistening but unshed, a warrior's gloss. Elton paused, the weight of words evident in his furrowed brow, before conceding, perhaps we've both penned our pain in permanent ink. But the damage danced on, the panel fracturing into factions, with Katie Piper piping up on resilience's role in recovery, attempting to stitch the seams. Yet the thread snapped when producers, post-argument, pulled the plug literally, as Elton's mic cut mid-sentence during a gracious sexed line, the screen fading to ads amid awkward applause. Whispers backstage revealed the decision, too hot for unedited air, risking sponsor flight or viewer fright. Elton, ever the pro, shook hands off-air, but the sting lingered. His post-show statement via publicist a masterpiece of measured regret. Passionate discourse is daytime's delight, but boundaries bless us all. Denise, meanwhile, owned the outage on her Insta stories, framing it as fuel for future fires, her followers flooding with fiery emojis. The incident ignited a firestorm of analysis, psychologists on panels debating if it was cathartic clash or careless combust, tabloids twisting it into feud fiction, complete with fabricated quotes and phantom sources. Fans formed factions on linear: Team Elton praising his poise, Team Denise lauding her lioness roar, while neutral voices noted the irony, two survivors of scrutiny schooling each other on sensitivity. ITV's damage control was swift, a teaser clip sanitized for evening news, full episode embargoed pending edits. Apologies issued to both stars in velvet-wrapped press releases. But the real ripple? A surge in loose women ratings, proving controversy's currency in the click economy. As we unpack the undercurrents, consider Denise's history of heated exchanges and notably her 2021 lockdown tussle with Kay Adams, where vaccine views clashed like symbols, yet ended in agree to disagree grace. This time, with Elton, the stakes soared higher, blending personal with professional, past with present. Elton's side, his archives brim with beefs, from Watford FC fallout to music mogul mudslinging, but always resolved in rhyme or reconciliation. Their shared stage, however brief, highlighted healing's hues, how arguments, when aired, aerate old wounds, fostering growth in the Garden of Gab. Viewers wrote in droves, sharing their own blow-ups, turning the show into a surrogate for societal therapy. And in the quiet hours post-taping, reports surfaced of a private call between the duo. Laughter lines exchanged, lessons learned, a bridge built from banter's bricks. Yet the kicked-off label stuck, a sensational sticker on a story of substance, underscoring media's magpie nature, shiny scraps over solid gold. As the narrative nestles into nuance, it's evident this wasn't ejection but evolution, a pivotal plot twist in TV's timeless tale of talk. The fallout fostered forums from Reddit trends to royal radio call-ins dissecting decorum and discourse, with experts extolling the episode's educational edge on empathy. Denise later reflected in a Mirror exclusive, Clash's craft character Elton's a class act, argument and all. He, in turn, tweeted a tune snippet, "Don't let the Clash go to your head," encapsulating the episode's essence. This segment of the saga serves as a spotlight on solidarity's spark amid sparks fly, reminding us that in the Colosseum of conversation, victors are those who venture vulnerability. And as we gear up for the repercussions reveal, brace for boardroom battles and box office booms born from this bedlam. Now, let's zoom into the immediate repercussions, where the studio's sterile compost argument masked a maelstrom of maneuvering, as ITV honkos huddled in glass-walled war rooms, dissecting dailies like detectives at a crime scene, weighing whether to shelve the segment or spin it into sizzle. The decision to kick off Elton effectively axing his airtime mid-flow wasn't malice but metrics, producers prioritizing brand ballast over bold broadcast, fearing the fallout from unfiltered Feud could fracture their family-friendly facade. Denise, pacing her dressing room in post-adrenaline haze, fielded frantic calls from Agent and Offspring, Maddie Healy texting memes to lighten her load, while her hubby Lincoln Townley sketched caricatures of the chaos for comic relief. Meanwhile, Elton retreated to his suite, shades firmly affixed, dictating notes to his aide on lyric tweaks inspired by the Tiffet, turning tension into treble clefs, as is his alchemy. News broke like wildfire via TMZ's transatlantic tendrils. Headlines howling Rocket Man ejected from Randfest, with pixelated stills capturing Denise's defiant glare and Elton's arched brow. Social spheres imploded, X, formerly Twitter, timelines tangled with threads theorizing everything from scripted stunt to spontaneous supernova, influencers inserting themselves with sponsored takes, algorithms feasting on the frenzy. Loose Women's official feed flooded with fan-fiery supporters saluting Denise's spine, detractors decrying the disrespect to a Sir, polls popping up like popcorn, who won the war of words, with 52% tilting to Welch's warrior ethos. ITV's spin machine whirred into overdrive, issuing a boilerplate bomb, a lively debate underscoring the passion of our panel. The full episode coming soon with edits for context, but whispers from insiders painted a pricklier picture. Execs edgy over Elton's clout, potential pullout from future collabs, his foundation's funding ties to network philanthropies at risk. Denise, true to form, leaned into the limelight, her next podcast plug teasing bathroom bombshells and boardroom bust-ups, turning tribulation to triumph, bookings ballooning from book clubs to breakfast shows. Elton, less loquacious, led his music mouthpiece, a surprise Spotify drop of a remix laced with partnership pleas, subtly shading sensationalism without naming names. The duo's orbits overlapped again in op-eds, Elton penning a Guardian guest on the art of argument in an echo chamber age, praising loose women's verve while gently nudging for nuance. Denise countering in the sun with From Stall to Storm, Why Raw is Right, owning her eavesdropper era as emblem of everyday espionage in elite enclaves. Viewer voicemails vaulted the switchboard, grannies gushing over Elton's grace, millennials manifesting manifestos on mental health and media maelstroms, a chorus calling for unedited upload. Ratings rebounded like a rubber ball, the teaser clip clocking millions on catch-up, proving peril pays in the pursuit of pulse-pounding TV. Behind the velvet ropes, reconciliation rumors rippled. A mediated meetup mooted by mutual manager, perhaps over Elton's famed English tea or Denise's preferred Geordie brew, forging from friction of future friendship. Broader beats emerged, Women's Weekly's workshopping lessons from the loose, how to hash it out without hatchets, therapists touting the teachable on-air therapy, sociologists studying the spectacle as symptom of splintered society. Elton's fanbase, the Eltonites, rallied with retro rally as a flash mobs crooning your song outside ITV HQ, placards pleading let Sir speak. A while Denise's devotees, the Welch Warriors, waved witty wares, t-shirts touting Eavesdrop on it, Etsy exploding with merch mocking the Mick mishap. The kerfuffle kindled cross-pollination, podcast invites pouring for both, from Joe Rogan ribbing the royalty to Oprah opining on openness, their narratives nesting in Netflix docuseries pitches. ITV, in the interim, instituted argument audits post-debate debriefs to diffuse dynamite, a policy pearl born from the pandemonium. Denise dove into damage detail on her return episode, flanked by forgiving friends, framing the fracas as fertilizer for fiercer feminism, tears tracing triumphs over tabloid trials. Elton echoed in the BBC banter, Denise's dynamite are dust-up, just duet drama. The harmony hinted at healing, but the kicked-off scar scabbed slowly, scrawled in scandal sheets as season's juiciest juice. Peeling further, ponder the personal toll. Denise's dormant doubts on durability resurfaced, prompting pillow talk with Lincoln on legacy's load, while Elton journaled jabs at judgment's jagged edge, confiding in David over dinner the delight and debate's depth, their tales twined in tabloid tomes, a chapter closing on chaos, opening on camaraderie. Fans, forever famished for feels, feasted on follow-ups, fanfic flourishing with fictional feuds resolved in romance. TikTok's timestamping tension timestamps, viral videos vox-popping verdicts from streets to subways, this repercussion reel rewrites rules, revealing resilience's rhythm and recovery's refrain. A argument is accelerant to authenticity. As echoes ebb, the episode endures as exemplar, in TV's Tempest's temper tightens, birthing bolder broadcasts, yet the story simmers still, with sequel whispers of a joint appearance. A full circle flourish to the feud. Imagine the intro, from Fallout to featuring a welcome back, Rocket and Rebel. The anticipation alone could eclipse eclipses, but for now, the aftershocks all, underscoring Unity's undercurrent and uproar. And as we advance to the audience's afterglow, attuned to how this altercation altered airwaves, amplifying voices long sidelined and spotlights squabbles,